Hello everyone, how you're doing? You can turn on your mics and please turn on your cameras so I can see you. Nice. Thank you so much, Lisa, for turning on your cameras, Pilar. Thank you so much. Well, today we will start with a very beautiful presentation. It's about essays. First off, I hope you're doing all well. Today we have a special guest joining us. Her name is Jingjing Li. She's a representative from the University of Central Arkansas. Jingjing Li will be providing us with an in-depth panoramic view of the application's essays. And I think it's a crucial component for your university applications. So just remember that in previous sessions, we delved into what admissions committees were looking for in your profiles. And today we'll be covering like the considerations before applying to the university. And I'm talking about the essays. So let's congratulate Jingjing Li for taking the time to make this presentation possible. We know that today is a day off in the US. So yet she has graciously chosen to be with us to share her expertise on application essays. So thank you once again, Jingjing Li. The floor is fully yours.
Thank you.
So I will be moving to the next slide. And time for the activity.
Yes, so my name is Jingjing Li from University of Central Arkansas. We are located in the south of the United States. Today is really hot outside. We use Fahrenheit. It's 104 degrees, so it's super hot. The topic for today, next please. So how to write a personal application essay. You might want to ask why universities require an application essay, right? Since you already submitted your test scores, your English proficiency, maybe your resume, your application, why do they still ask you for a personal essay or statement essay? Because you already meet the requirements, your GPA meet the requirements, your SAT or ACT scores, but those requirements are the same to everyone. So the university requires the personal essay to find out who you are. The essay should describe a story or an aspect of your life in a way that is dynamic, that is not only from the paper. It reflects many of your values, your strengths, your interests, maybe your volunteer work or your life experience. So they want to know, Remy, you can just keep clicking. Yeah, they want to know that your interest is what the school is looking for. They also want to know that you can contribute something value to the campus, right? They want to bring students that can bring valuable resource to the university. That's why we ask for a personal statement. Next, please. So for the step one, what do you want to do? The step one is you can explore the university you want to apply for. You can go to their website, find out their mission statement, their visions, their values. It's usually under university, the main website, under about. You can find those information. The university spend lots of time to build their website. So you also need to spend lots of time explore their website. Besides the university, you want to learn about the college or the department you're applying to. If you already know the major you're going to apply to, you know, for us, I was also an international student before. For us, unlike American students, or we call them domestic students, sometimes they don't know which major they're going to study in college, but we international students, we already know the major, we already know which department. Well, for some of you, if you don't know, which is okay, because they give you some times. Usually the first year, you can take some classes to know your interest and then decide your major. But if you already know your major, you'd better look at their department website to find out their specific requirement about your major at the department. Next, please. That's step one. Next is the step two. What should the admission counselor want to read? Although I'm the recruitment specialist, I also read students' applications. What do I want to read? I want to read something authentic about you. What's your goals of college study? What's your story being a student? We want to know that we offer you the spot on campus will benefit not only you, but also the university. Like I mentioned earlier, the test scores, your resume, they are not as vivid as an application essay. They can convey the story about yourself to distinguish you from others. So you have to read the instructions and to follow along. You don't want to write something that we didn't ask. So you want to follow along the instruction and hit the targets with the right direction. That's step two. Next, please. What do we want to see? We want to, like I mentioned, we want to say something about you. That's yourself. Only you have it. That's your story. You cannot copy from someone else. We want your writing to be humorous. Why? Because imagine some university, some admission counselor, they read application essays about, there's a data set about 100 a day. So which one would impress you the most? Of course, the most interesting one, the funny ones, right? We want to know your curiosity about knowledge. You come to the university to learn. So your curiosity about knowledge is crucial to show that you are eager to learn. You are eager to come here. Self-assessment, you have to assess yourself objectively with the specific examples. You don't want to write something that everyone else can write. You know yourself, so know what you want to do and what you can do. It's about your own voice. It's your voice as a student. What do you want to become after studying at the university? How can you utilize the resources that the university provides you to achieve your goals as a student? To be continued, next slide, please. So we want to know your depth of thinking, because you will also do some kind of research, and like high school, especially for some graduate students, we want to see the depth of your thoughts. You have to specialize in something, right? Everyone's different. And a tutor of graduate students from all undergraduate students. Well, if you read something, you can tell that a 17 years old, the writing is different than a 80 years old. They have different writing styles because their life experience are different. The university want to see a 17 years old. How do they define themselves, and how do they see the world? Your writing skills is also very important. You have been learning writing, since you started school, right? 5 or 6 years old. You write in your own language. You also learned how to write in English. Well, the writing skills can improve, like by learning, such as there's so many YouTube topics. YouTubers, they talk about how to improve your writing skill. Number 9 is the materials are consistent, because you you want to check whether the material or the documents you provided to the university are consistent. Why? For example, if in your application you said you're the only child, then in the personal statement, you were saying something about your sibling. Then we can tell you are not telling me the truth. I don't know why you're not telling me the truth, but I don't like it. So it would be easy to know that you're not telling the truth. This is huge in the US, especially now with AI and ChatGPT, even the university professor now, they need to make sure that students are not just copy and paste. You, as the applicant, you should be diligent and do your work. Okay, next, please. There's something to keep in mind. For your reference, I give you 5 C's. The first one is correctness. It means that you have to use accurate words, the tenses, spellings, punctuation. In English and Spanish, they are different. The correctness is the basic skill, for us, for the admission counselor to judge whether you have the basic English writing skill. Number 2, concision. The goal of this one is to use the most effective word. It doesn't always use the fewest words, but it's always use the strongest word. Often, fill sentences with weak or unnecessary words that can be deleted or replaced. For example, I think. You don't want to use I think. You want to use in my opinion, right? Number 3, clarity. Clarity, the point is clear, and clear. You use appropriate wording, vocabulary, grammar, and a variety of sentences structures, which is for high school students, they must have it to enter college. Number 4, creativity. Well, can your writing attract the reader's attention? Is the theme expression very new? You check whether the article is reading around the student themselves, whether it is true, whether it shows the student's personality, their talents, their depth of thoughts, whether it can cause reflection. Number 5, coherence. This is the only way to attract the admission counselors to continue reading. For us readers, we don't want to put together small pieces. You want to lead the reader. It should be noted that there's no such thing as a perfect topic when writing an essay. Committee members, the admission counselors like to read articles on different topics and themes, as long as the article is authentic and credible and expresses the students' true thoughts. Also complies with the 5C principles mentioned above. It's a qualified topic. Well, it depends on the university. Some university, they would specify, which topics you should choose from. Some university, they would give you, just general requirements. So the best method for you is to go to their website and check their requirements. Okay, next, please. Besides 5C, you have to keep in mind, this is a creative writing assignment. Show, don't tell. I'll give you 2 examples. You can read by yourself. You can tell me which one is better. I mentioned earlier, you use strong words, not weak words. Someone want to tell me which example, A or B, is better?
You can do so, guys, by raising your hand or opening up the microphone.
B, letter B.
The second one.
The second one, why?
It looks more complete.
The vocabulary is more complex.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. What you all said is good because, you know, B didn't write what just happened. B brings the reader to the scene to make the reader feel like the reader is there. So describe in detail. The biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes that students make is to simply state everything just happened instead of actually bring the reader to the moment it happened and tells a story, okay? To keep in mind, that's 1, 2, next slide, please. You want to use a dialogue. Why you want to use a dialogue? Because if you think about it, dialogue is very attractive, but you don't want to write too much because there's a words limit. Because you want to show your expressions, your feelings, your opinions. So you want to use dialogue. Number 4, hit length. Of course, you know, they ask for 650 words. If for 650 words, some people say that if you write 550, maybe that's okay. But if you only have like 500 or 300, no, that's not okay. Number 5, ask others to read it. Well, you can ask your friends, your classmates, your teachers to read it, and you need to make several edits. You need to revise. My boss, he's the vice president for the university. His daughter just graduated from college. When she was applying for college here in the US, because he was a French professor and he also taught writing, so he made his daughter to change her essay 5 times. Made her daughter cried a lot. Well, you don't want to cry, but you want to edit your essay, right? Well, if cry helps, that's okay. Next, please. When you ask others or you ask yourself to read, you can ask these questions. You can ask, did my opening paragraph capture your attention? You know, the first 20 seconds, do the reader want to continue to read? Did you find the statement as a whole to be interesting, like we mentioned earlier? Did you find it to be well written, your writing skills? Did it seem positive, upbeat? So although you might have some, negative experience, but your opinions, something you learned from it, should be positive, right? Did it sound like me? Is it true about yourself? Is it unique about you? Did you regard it as an honest and forthright presentation of who I am? Like I said, it's something about you. It's your story to distinguish you from others. Next, please. There are more questions you can ask. You can ask others, did they seem to answer the questions in the promote? Can you think of anything else that you have omitted? Because some of your friends, they know you very well. They can tell you what to add. Is there any information within the statement that seems inappropriate? Is too aggressive, too threatening, that scared them away? Or did you gain any insight about me after reading this? Well, you can ask your teachers, your friends, your classmates, someone who knows you. These questions are, good to ask. Okay. And also, I think I have more questions. Next slide. Did you notice any typos or any errors? not right now, you can use like the Word file. They have a auto correction. In the university I'm at, I'm taking classes now. The professor said, when you write an essay, you can use ChatGPT to give you the outline, but the details you have to fill out because it's something about you. I think, well, that's a good idea, right? If you don't know how to structure, you can ask ChatGPT, the AI, to give you some idea. Well, you can also ask, do you think the statement has in any way distinguished me from other applicants? I, as the admission counselor, I want to say something special about you. I have so many applicants from this country, maybe from the same school. You take the same class, you grow up in the same area, but what is unique about you? Do you think the statement is logical? These are all the questions you can ask. Well, let's go to step 4. You can start writing. So now I want you guys ask yourself, when you start writing, what do you do the first thing?
Think
Well,
about what to write.
think about what you want to write. Very good. Someone else?
I think it's very useful, like a brainstorm, to have some ideas and like trying to filter them.
Very good. Yeah. Someone else? Now, mhm.
Also,
Okay.
like organizing your ideas in paragraphs.
Right. You don't want your essay to be in one big chunk of paragraph, right? You want to separate them.
I would say read the prompt.
Yeah, you need to follow the instructions. I ask you to write something about yourself, but instead you wrote something about, I don't know, your friend. It's not about you. So you read the prompts. Where do you find them? On the website. That's very good. Someone else want to say something? You have done all the research, okay? You know what to keep in mind. Now you want to start writing. Do you think the first sentence is very important or the last sentence is very important? Both. Well, true.
I think the first sentence, like the topic sentence, is really important to like catch your the reader's attention.
Yes, very good. You can start showing the rest of the slide. I think the first is the most important. Yes. Wow, you guys, you already know. Why? The first sentence is very important. Attention grabbing first sentence. A short why? Can you tell me why? Why the first sentence is very important? It's even more important than the last one.
It kind of like sums up everything that you're going to talk about.
True. Sums up. It is the first impression. True. What else?
It's the one that catches the reader's attention.
Yes, very true. There's a study shows that if you can attract the reader's attention in the first 20 seconds, that's the best. Imagine you are about to read something. The first thing you read, if it didn't catch your attention, you feel like the first couple sentences is not interesting. Do you want to keep reading? Or you want to skip it and go to another one? So the first sentence is very important. You want to catch the reader's attention like you guys just said, right? Otherwise, well, this is boring. I don't want to continue. Yes, you have the first feeling while you're reading all the essay. Yes, imagine I'm sitting here all day long reading essays. I already read 30 in the morning. I start my 31st in the afternoon. Well, the first sentence, well, I don't even know what the student is talking about. So do I want to continue? I want to continue to see whether some treasures hiding in. No, I don't have time to do that. And I don't want to spend my time to do that. That's your job as a writer. You should write something that catch my attention in the first 20 seconds, right? You guys are very good. And this is interactive. I like this to be interactive. Yeah, you have the first feeling, the student. It's like first impressions important, right? After the first sentence, you want to have a short explanation of what you will talk about in your essay. The thesis statement in which you address the essay promote. Now, can I ask some of you write your first sentence to catch my attention? Or if you don't want to write it, you can just say it. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is just a testing environment. We're just talking. So you learned something today. Now you start writing. Write your first essay sentence. You know it's important.
Is it possible if they can leave them on the chat?
Yes, yes, yes. So you can think about it. The first sentence, grab the attention, very vivid description. If it's too general, do I want to continue to read it? If it's not interesting, is it something about yourself? Okay, so that's, you know, the general idea how to write. Now, let me see, hold on a second. There's someone put in the chat. So someone said, young girl focused on STEM topics with several word recognitions on communication and science. Is this your first sentence? Dana, is your first sentence. Young girl focused on STEM or STEAM. Are you talking about STEAM or STEM? Is STEAM or STEM? STEAM. What is STEAM? See, you wrote something I don't know. So why didn't you spell out the full name? That's one problem, okay? Yeah, yeah. So she's explaining that the science, technology, art, math. So what's E? Is E engineering? So you missed E. Well, let's no problem. Let's see about the first sentence. Young girl focused on STEAM topics with several word recognitions and communication and science. What do you think? To me, my first impression is, well, that's very general. You're just describing a young girl focused on STEAM topics. That's very general. And you didn't spell out the full name. You assume that everyone else is going to know that. Well, I don't know. So there's one person don't know. So you should spell out the full name. Let's see another one. I was in the first tackle construction, another with acronyms, not the full name. I was in the first tackle construction with food encapsulated in the school with no way to get it out and many hungry, working volunteers. What do you think? I think that's very good, except you didn't spell the tackle name out. That's very good. You know, with food encapsulated in the school with no way to get it out and many hungry, hardworking volunteers. I want to find out, you know, why there are many hungry, hardworking volunteers. I want to find out whether she get out or not. I want to find out the rest of the story. So that's very good. Another one, my teeth are made of corn and my soul is made from the rich soil that covers my ground. I'm Mexican. What do you think? So my teeth are made of corn, you know, Mexican is a country popular for corns, and my soul is made from the rich soil that covers my ground. Well, that one I think is good, but it could be better. You said I'm Mexican. We have so many applicants from Mexican. We know many Mexican people, they like corns. They like, you know. So that's, you can add a little bit more detail to that one. Oh, yes. Remy already explained in the chat. Let's do another one. Years of doing someone else's interest for once in my life, the decision was mine. And I didn't know what my goals were until my heart and mind merged and accepted it. Well, that one, what do you guys think? Years of doing someone else's interests for once in my life, the decision was mine. And I didn't know what my goals were until my heart and mind merged and accepted it. I think that's good. That's good. I want to continue to read to see what you're talking about. Like, what are your goals were? And what are you talking about that you are doing someone else's interest? You were pleasing someone, you feel like yourself didn't matter. Okay, we can get to so poetic. Yes, true. Oh, let's do the next one. Then we can go to the next slide. Next slide. Expectations, period. Who doesn't have expectations in their lives will feel empty and without a path to follow. My expectations were always clear, being someone in this life or die trying. I won't die without trying. That's the worst defeat of life. Well, that's more than first sentence, but that's okay. That's good, but I think the first expectations, why you spell the word expectations with a period? What's your attention? You don't need that word, right? Who doesn't have expectations in their life will feel empty and without a path to follow. To me, personally, I think that kind of general. your next sentence, my expectations were always clear. Being someone in this life or die trying. I like that one better because you are talking about something about yourself. That's unique about you, because the first one, who doesn't have expectations in their life, will feel empty and without path to follow. Well, I can write that. That's not unique about you. Very good. You guys are already good. I don't think, you need to be here. But, we'll also learn from each other. Okay. The body, if you guys want to put your first sentence here, please do. Here is no judge, okay? We just talk about, we discuss, we want to improve, okay? So you can keep putting in the chat. So the body of your personal it's a vivid details the story, because the first sentence you didn't tell me about story. You told me something you have learned, your feelings, your opinions, and then your body should be a story. Something examples of your qualifications. It's not just something listed on your resume. It can be like 2 to 4 paragraphs. Like someone else who mentioned you several paragraphs, right? 2 to 4, that's good. Okay, next slide, please. The conclusion part. I told you guys the first sentence is more important than the last one, but the last one is also important. Did you finish? A conclusion that engages the reader and is sincere and not a vague general statement. Like the one we mentioned earlier, who doesn't have expectations in their life will feel empty and without a path to follow. That's a good one, but it's the reason I don't like it very much is because it's general. And you don't want to repeat what you already said. I give you a word limit, 600 words. I want you to use the 600 words to express yourself fully. You don't need to repeat what you just said. I already know what you said in the first paragraph. You don't have to repeat again and again, okay? Now, let's get to some examples. The first example, if you want to read, you can read. Some students have a background, identity, interests, or talents that is so meaningful. They believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. If you choose this one, this topic asks you to write about yourself in a unique way. Whether it is about your hobbies, your background, how you define yourself, it doesn't matter. The important thing is to tell a story that is very, very important to you. Without the story, that's not you. The story is very important, that your application to the university will not be complete without it. So that's the first example. When writing, I want to add, when writing for this topic, some students, they often make some mistakes of repeating themselves. Many people have already mentioned their personal information in their resumes, including the academic performance, your awards, etc. So here you must avoid repeating those personal information. Remember, only content that can refresh the admission committee is appropriate. I already know your scores. I already know your academic performance. So you don't want to repeat. You don't want to say, okay, I'm an A+ student in my school. Well, that's already in your document. You don't have to repeat that. The second one, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or a failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from that experience? Well, I think this one is kind of challenging than the first one, right? It might be difficult to write something about failure while indirectly showing your strength and your potential, right? However, if you're very good at self-reflection and you know how to face the challenges, face your shortcomings, this topic would be a good choice for you. This topic must show, I think, you as a student, your high degree of confidence and your maturity. And it also should show that you are humble, you're eager to learn. It's meaningless to just simply write something about the experience of a failure. Student, you should focus on how to face the failure in a positive way, because that's in the past. Now you are present. What did you learn from that? No questions? If you guys have questions, you can just stop me and ask, okay? If no, we can continue to some more examples. Next slide, please.
I
Oh,
have a
all right.
question.
Yes, please.
How much would you recommend to put facts about the place we live, whether or not they are related to our growth?
Sorry, you mean places you live in the essay?
The place we live. Yes, the place we live.
Well, if in your application documents you fill out, you already said you live in this area and then you moved to another area, you lived like in, let's say, 4 places already. In your essay, you don't need to specify, right? You can, in your essay, you can mention what's something you learned from moving around to different places.
Okay, but we put like facts, for example, cultural facts or demographic facts in the essay or not?
You put, sorry, what are we talking about?
Cultural facts, for example. For example, here there is Guelaguetza. So I put it in my essay or not? Because I think that there is related, but in my growth, but not that much to put it. But I don't know if I will put it or not.
You already answered yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I would say that if you think that it's relevant to your personal story, you can add it, but you must consider the prompt of the university. Okay, so if you think that your background or the demographic things that you're talking about are relevant to the story, you can add them. If they're not, just skip them.
Right. If it's a name, the town you lived in, well, the name doesn't mean anything to me, to the reader, if I never been there or I didn't even know about that place, right? But if it means so much to you, you feel like you should let others know. That's very important. The name is very important. The place is very important to you. You can mention it. Very good question. Okay, the third example. Reflect on time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What promoted your thinking? What was the outcome? That's the guideline. Do you guys think this is broad? Yeah, it is broad, right? It's not very specific. You can write about anything that you have ever questioned. However, the key point here, I think, is to remember that not all good ideas and beliefs can be written into good essays. You shouldn't write something superficial, but something can reflect your personality and core ideas and beliefs. When writing something about this question, you should show that you are thoughtful, you are open-minded, and have the ability to analyze and think independently. So number 4, the example is reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? Although this one is not a very popular topic, it is extremely able to show your values, your curiosity, and your problem-solving ability. When writing something about topic 4, example 4, it would be easy for you to let your writing style lean towards academic style, which is good for writing this, right? For application essay. But it's not recommended. It's not very recommended for your application. When answering this question, you should choose a question that is important to you personally. Okay. Do we have graduate students here, like students here who want to apply for graduate school today?
No, they're all want to apply for undergraduate programs.
Okay, because my last slide is about the examples for graduate students. So if we don't have any graduate students here, we can skip the last slide. Thank you, guys. This is my, yeah. Okay, now we can ask questions.
So, well, guys, it's time for you to ask questions. It's now or never. Okay, Pilar, go ahead.
Hi, I'm asking about how does the rising of AI and ChatGPT and platforms like that have challenged admission officers or the admission process?
You mean us reading the essays?
Yes, how do you grade whether someone is using AI, and is it really important, or can we use those? Can we help ourselves using those type of programs too, like ChatGPT, for example?
Yeah, I think, in this age, in this time, I think you should use ChatGPT or AI to help you. But like I mentioned earlier, some professors at the university, they told the students, you can use ChatGPT to help you outline your structure, but not the details. For example, when I read the application essay, sometimes I can tell whether this is from ChatGPT or AI, or the students. Why? Because, before I read your application essay, I already read your other application documents, your testing scores, your resume, your experience in high school. I already kind of know you from your score. So I have an estimation. If it's very off, the personal essay is very off, you can tell that's not from the student. Did you hear the story? The workers who work in the bank, in the past, they don't have a machine to detect whether the money is real or not. But how can they detect? By see a lot of real money. You feel it every single day. And then when the fake money come in, you can feel it's fake because you know what real feels like. Like for us, we were trained, to be honest. We were trained to do this. We learned from experience. But I think you should use ChatGPT or AI to help you, to guide you if you didn't know, to give you some idea. But writing should be yours. Like I mentioned, should from you are 17, you are 18. If you are something too mature, sounds like 50 years. Well.
Okay, now it's time for Marianne to ask her question. Go ahead.
If you want to
I
put
think
your
Alan
question
was
in the
first.
chat, that's also fine. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think Alan was first.
There's
mine?
also one question in the chat.
The question in the chat was already answered, I think.
Okay, okay. So my question is, can we put like academic or athletic story?
In your essay,
Yeah.
if you already mentioned in other documents, no. If you feel like you have to and you follow the prompts, yes.
Thank you.
Very good question.
Now, Marianne, it's your turn.
Thank you. Hello, if we have many experiences to write about, how do we choose one? Are there any specific points you would recommend to choose it?
Yes, very good question. So first of all, you read the prompts, you choose one. Some university, they give you several topics to choose from, like Common App, they give you topics to choose from. Some university, they only give you one. You have there's only one topic. You have no choice. For the if you have many options for your experience, you can list them, and you can see which. You can tell which experience will best describe yourself, and which experience can fit the prompts. Which experience can best describe you, distinguish you from others.
Thank you.
That's very good. You have many experience, because for some students, they were like, I'm in school all like the past 17 years. I have no life experience. So this is really so hard for me. So having a lot of experience, that's good. That's very good.
I do have a question. How far in advance should a student start working on their application essays?
Well, when you start thinking about going abroad, that's the point. Because I really suggest you guys to make several edits. Maybe you started your essay, but you don't know, you cannot finish it. But later, you just keep thinking, and then you have new ideas. So start as early as possible, but follow the prompts.
Nice. And another question for me, like, are there any topics that students like should avoid in their essays?
The topics usually the university would let the student know or post on their website what topics to choose from. So you have to follow their instructions. But when you write, I would suggest you don't want to write something like really upset. Well, you can write upsetting experience and then the things you learned from it. Because imagine, we bring the students to the university, we want them to learn, to be educated, and after graduate, they can do something magnificent to the society, right? If you have been upset all the time, that will, affect your learning. So you can write something sad about yourself, but the tone should be positive, should be upbeat.
Thank you, Ying. I think Pilar has a question, right? Go ahead.
Yes, it's about the level of writing, because once I think I saw a video of someone that said that your college essays should be like everyone should be able to comprehend it, so it should be like very simple language. But then should we prioritize like very simple vocabulary or very complicated vocabulary?
Well, I think it depends. That's a very good question. I think it depends on your essay. I don't, you are applying for undergraduate student. It's not graduate level. The TOEFL you take, the IELTS you take, the writing. There's no very complicated words. You don't need to use very complicated words to describe yourself, to describe your story. If simple words can do that, then do it.
And I would like to add something about it. If you use complex words while you're speaking, I think that it could be like an option for you to start writing in that level. But if you don't use it, if you don't use complex words in your daily life, I don't recommend you to do so. I don't know if University of Central Arkansas like does interviews, but most universities does. So they will see if you are a student using that level of English. So just imagine that if you don't use it, and on your essays you use complex words, it doesn't match. It doesn't make sense. So I don't recommend you guys to use complex words if you don't use it in your daily life.
Yeah, agree. There's question in chat. Do we state our full name, age? No. In your essay, no, because I know that you are the applicant. I already know your name, and you don't need to say how old are you? Why? Because I already know it's in your application. I ask your birthday in your application, and I ask your name. No, you don't have to. That's a very good question.
And I think Natalia has a question. Go ahead, Natalia. It's your turn.
Thank you. Should we use the Common App prompts for write like a single essay for every university we apply to, or should we write different essays for the different prompts for every university?
Well, that's a very good question. I had students ask that before. It depends on the university. For example, if my university uses a Common App and you want to apply to my university, yes, you can. But if my university, we don't use Common App, and you use the Common App essay to apply to my university, sorry, no. So if the university accept the Common App, yes. If they don't, so no. That's why you need to know, you better know which university or which universities you're going to apply for. Maybe I know in general students would apply for 4 universities. Someone told me, so you should know that whether the university accept Common App or not. Go to their website, you'll find out. If you don't know, if you think, the website, there's too much information. How can I, know which ones are important to me? You can always email the admission counselor, someone like me in the international office. That's our job to help students. So can always email them to ask.
And well, I think
Education USA, guys. They are there to help you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you don't know, you know, the too much information, I don't know which ones to look for, so you can ask them.
Yeah, we're always your official source to ask those type of questions. And I think that Sophia has another question.
Yes, hi. My question is, my essay doesn't have to be related to my major unless they ask me to write about it.
No. No, it doesn't have to be related to a major.
Thank you.
Why? Because, you know, we want to see whether you have the potential to study your major, to successful in the university. It's not if you already know so much about your major, maybe you don't need to come here, right? So you don't have to write something about your major. We want to see who you are as a student in general.
There is another question on the chat. Do you recommend quoting people?
Well, the short quote is fine, and then you can define why you want to code it, why this is very important to you. Yes, yes, that helps.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions, guys? No?
You guys have been wonderful today.
Nice. So thank you so much, Jingjing. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And happy 4th of July. Today's Independence Day, guys. So,
Yeah. They started fireworks last night, so tonight they're also going to start some more.
so we'll get ready for that.
Yeah, midnight until midnight.
It was nice having you. We hope to have you in future sessions. And well,
Thank you.
enjoy the rest of your day, Jingjing.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Nice talking to you.
So guys, how you feeling? So far, so good? You can turn on your mics if you want to.
I feel a little anxious because like I don't think in more questions, but later I think in more, and that is like, oh, I didn't ask that.
Have you ever used the show not technique? I mean, the show not tell technique? The one that the one example that she gave us at the very beginning of the session. Remember that she showed like a short sentence, and then she gave us another example with like a descriptive way of what's happening on the first sentence. Have you ever used it? Or do you know the technique? No? So I think Lisette was in my last session, but Lisette is working with me in Monterrey. We're in the Collegiate English program. So last class we were talking about the show not tell technique. So I'm gonna set everything up here. I will try to explain a little bit to you. I know that we're still having time. The session finished earlier than expected. So I'm gonna turn off my camera for a sec. Don't leave the session. So I'm just going to set everything up to have the presentation ready, okay? Just allow me 1 minute. I'm so sorry, my microphone was off. I will try to be very voice it. There you go. So I'm gonna try to make myself a little bit like entertaining for you. So this is a presentation I used a couple of days ago with some students here in my center. And this was to help them understand a little bit better on how to write complex sentences. So the presentation, let me go straight to the next slide. So what's the best way for you to start improving your techniques in writing? So I always recommend students to use the show, not tell techniques. And what that means is that firstly, you will try to understand what's the tell version and what's the show version. Okay. So for example, when we say the tell version, you are just giving us a stating fact. You're summarizing events or um, you're summarizing your ideas without much details. Okay, it's like just saying like I'm happy or she was sad, for example. So that's the tell version that you are just summarizing events without much detail. But when we use the show version, we're talking about like a complex word. Instead of, for example, saying that she was sad or that this person was happy, you give more information like in-depth emotion to things. So, for example, the show version involves like a vivid description and sensory details that allows the reader to experience the story or the emotions firsthand. So remember the example that I was giving you that she was sad. So I would say why she was sad. For example, you would say like there were tears welled up in her eyes, or her shoulders slumped and her voice trembled. You know the difference? So you're giving us like a painting or more vivid picture of what's happening. So you're giving us for example, emotions like welled up, the shoulders and the tremble voice. So that's the show and not tell technique. So I will show you an example. Who wants to read the sentence? Who wants to be the tell version? Anyone? Okay, Alan, go ahead and read it. And Sarah is going to be the show version, okay? Then I will with you,
So,
Pilar.
tell, the garden was beautiful.
Okay. Does that give you any information? No? So, Sarah, can you read the show version?
Yes,
Go
the
ahead.
garden was a riot of colors with roses, tulips, and daisies blooming in vibrant hues. Butterflies flitted from flower to flower, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine.
Nice. What's the difference between those, the first sentence and the second sample? What do you think?
The second gives like a description how's the garden.
Okay. What else?
I think the second version was way more sensorial and like create an atmosphere for the reader.
Okay, Mariana, raise the hand. Go ahead.
It says why it was beautiful for the person.
Okay, you're getting the idea. All of you are really nice in this. Um, when we use the show not technique, like I said, we are trying to paint a picture in words. So for example, in this case, instead of saying the garden was beautiful, or instead of saying beautiful, we describe what makes the garden beautiful. Okay? So when we talk about the colors, for example, like red, pink, or white flowers, we're giving emotions. We're giving I'm sorry, we're giving a vivid picture of what's on the garden. Okay. And when we mention the butterflies like moving around, we're mentioning also what's on our perspective. Okay. And when we mention, for example, the smell, the jasmine flowers, so you are giving us like a sensory detail of what's on it. Okay. So are you getting the idea? So that's what you're going to try to do with your essays. Do not say that you have leadership skills. Tell us why you have those skills, why you're doing, like, for example, helping your teamwork, or I don't know, uh, your experience playing soccer, for example, or what are the things that you learn to get to that level of helping others, you know? So that's the show not tell techniques. So always think about, like, we want chisme, like Julian said, we need information, we need to know what's happening. So remember always to talk about those things, to be more descriptive. Okay, so far so good. Nice. So, for example, here the dinner was delicious. Can Pilar read the show version?
Yeah, the tell or the show?
The show one, please.
Dinner was a feast for the senses. The roast chicken was golden and crispy. The mashed potatoes were creamy and buttery, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filled the air.
Okay. What do you think about the sentence? Is it describing why was the dinner delicious?
Yes, like all of the questions that you could have from reading the first sentence.
Nice. Who else wants to participate and give an opinion about this show version? Antonella, go ahead.
Can it be like something like I say, the game was great, and then like for example, the show version can be, we had a beautiful game because we played this, that, and then all my experience during the game or something like that.
Can you repeat the sentence, the tell version?
The game was great.
The game was great. Is that the answer?
No, I have a question actually. It's not like participating.
Okay.
So
It's
my
because I
question.
can hear you very well. I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
So my question is, let's say I put a sentence that the game was great. So the show version is like what I felt during the game or how the game was played.
How the game was played. That's the answer. But if you want to add more detail, you can use the other answer. For example, in order for me to answer your question, this is the formula. So take a screenshot. Okay? Marianne, go ahead.
How do we identify what's necessary and what's not in the show version?
How to identify what's good or what's necessary. When we're talking about the admissions process, first up, we need to read the prompt. For example, in a personal statement. For you that are applying to undergraduate programs, most of the questions that you will see is that they will ask you about your experience or choosing the institution. For example, using the show version, you can tell the admissions committee what you're looking for about the program. So you can picture yourself like, I don't know, going through a difficult moment and what makes you decide to choose that program. And then you would describe what things you went through to get to that decision, to go to that program. Of course, there are a lot of factors that may be included here, that we might include here, and it could be about the length. So you will see how much or how many words you would use for your essay. So I hate this answer, and I don't want to say it, but it depends. It depends on what you're asked and on the length of the essay. But try to be descriptive in your passions, your aspirations, and your talents. That will help you to showcase yourself. That will be my recommendation, but it depends. So my recommendations, of course, are here to help you understand a little bit more about writing. Of course, the first thing that you must do is to start being descriptive, and then you will make short answers to your essays, or you will use those examples in a shorter way for you to use them in your final essays. But try to be descriptive. That's the point. Okay. And my other recommendation is, of course, overcoming the imposter syndrome, and of course, to know what's the wow factor. Do you know what the imposter syndrome is?
It's when you're good and you don't believe you're good.
Yeah, it's when you think that you're not as capable as others think you are, right? So think about your strengths, think about what you stand out, and listen to others. Listen to positive comments. If someone tells you you're very good at this, believe it, and try to reflect on why people are seeing those things that I don't see myself. Okay? And for example, the wow factor is like the golden buzzer in American Got Talent. Just imagine someone going to an audition in American Got Talent. The first thing that this show does is to show you the contestant story, right? You don't see their audition at the first place. What you see first is the story. And you first engage with the story before knowing what the person is doing or what the strengths of this person has. So think about your admission process like that. The judges are the admissions committees, and you are the one who's going to tell your story in front of the judges, and you will convince them that you are the right fit. Okay? So how would you get to that point? You need to know who you are, what you're going to do, and what's next. After my audition, what's next? Am I ready for that? Am I not? What am I lacking to get to that point? So there are a lot of factors that you must consider, but there is an example that I had on my previous sessions in my Education USA Center, and it was about a girl that she was suffering from cancer in her lungs, her spine, and she was with a 2% of living. And she went to the stage with this glow and telling the judges that she was okay, even though she was not okay, and that she went through all of these problems, and that she wrote a song, an original song, about her story.
Hmm.
So she did the audition, everything was great. She sang very good, but she, at the first place, talked about her personal story. And when she sang the song, everything made sense. So after finishing, she got the golden buzzer because she grabbed the attention of the judges and the audience. And she was auditioning in the right place. Just imagine her auditioning, for example, at The Voice. the song would not have the same impact because you don't know her personal story. Maybe the judges are looking for a singer who has like whistle notes or mixed voice or whatever, like without knowing what's happening behind. So think about this as if you're going to ask for an admission in a program, try to see their mission and what they're looking for in a student. And if you align with their vision and if you align with their interests, and when you present or when you show your essay to the admissions committee, you will show them that you are the exact person that they're looking for. Am I being like descriptive and giving you information on what this is about? Yep. So think about yourself as the wow factor and try to overcome the imposter syndrome. I would try to do an activity on the Google Classroom for you to start overcoming the imposter syndrome, and this will help us to see our strengths. So yeah. There are another examples of good stories. For example, this person, can anyone read the told version?
I can read it.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
I was a brilliant student with a perfect GPA, but I came from a low-income background. I felt like I wasn't going to make it to university. Then I applied to the Opportunity Fund scholarship and realized that my difficult times were actually an asset for my future career in the USA.
Okay. So what's the story about? You can answer this question by raising your hand. Okay, go ahead, Natalia. And then
The
you might.
story, the story about a very brilliant student who had a difficult time and applied to Opportunity Fund scholarship.
Okay. And what's the student struggling with?
I think that this student is struggling because this student thinks that because he or she or they has or comes from a low income, there are no like opportunities. But then the person realized that she could turn the difficulties with the help of Opportunity Funds scholarship to strengths.
That's it. You said it. So he thinks that there are enough possibilities of studying in the US because he comes from a very low income background. And he feels like he's not going to make it. But then he realized that the opportunity funds can help him out to become the professional he wants to be in the future, or he wants to become. Just imagine this person asking for the opportunity fund scholarship in an essay. What would you think that the show version would be? I mean, you have the told version. What else you can add to make it more interesting? The story.
Maybe explaining a little bit about their background, because even if they talk about being from a low income, like we don't know what low income means for them or for their context. So maybe talking a little bit more about their experiences and why is it considered, well, not why does it consider low income, but maybe just talking, yeah, a little bit about them as a person.
Okay. So that's that's a very good answer, Sarah. And I think that this person can say a lot in his essays. For example, would you like to see the show version? Is it divided? This show version is divided into three different sections. So I will show you the first one. Are you ready? So this is the part one. Who wants to read it? Or may I choose a victim? Okay, Marianne, go ahead.
As the top student in my class, my report cards were always adorned with perfect grades, each a testament to my dedication and hard work. However, the gleaming accolades hit a stark reality: my family's financial struggles. Our Gull creaky house with its leaky roof and my part-time job after school told a different story. To worry, Gaunet, or how do I pronounce? Gaunt at me, overshadowing my achievements. College seemed like a distant dream, a privilege I couldn't afford despite my academic success.
Okay, what do you see in this first paragraph? What do you identify?
It has more vocabulary and
Okay.
like adds facts. For example, top student in my class, because first we know that this person had good grades, but we know that it has good grades and is a top student.
Yeah, we know that this student has a very brilliant GPA, but we don't know exactly what's happening. So he's giving us an idea of her report cards. Okay, what else do you find there? Okay, Ana, Antonella, and I will go first with Ana and then Antonella. Okay. Okay. I think Ana is not ready, so I will go with Antonella.
You can see how the person describes their economic situation, like their house or how they live, and what they think they can't achieve because of that situation.
Thank you, Antonella. You did it right. You did it very good. What else? What else do you see? Is it a description about the place where he lives? Is there any other information that we're missing? No?
Is that he has a part-time job, like he works really hard to afford school.
Thank you. And let's see the next sample. Would you like to read it, Antonella?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Late one night, I sat at our wobbly kitchen table, the only quiet place in our crowded home, staring at the scholarship application for the Opportunity Funds program. I could hear the soft murmurs of my parents in the next room. The concern about bills, palpable. Determined to change our fate, I poured my heart into the application, detailing not just my grades, but the grit and resilience I had developed through adversity.
Okay. What do you find here?
I think it highlights like the strengths of the candidate because it shows he's determined and that he wants to change his situations. Besides, it's again like more descriptive in the family situation and the parents concerned about the bills.
Exactly. Exactly. You said it. Would you like to read the last part of this version?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
When the acceptance letters arrived, I was overwhelmed with the relief and hope. The scholarship didn't just mean financial support, it was a recognition of my journey and potential. It was when I realized that my challenging times had sculpted me into someone who could thrive in the face of adversity, My past was no longer a burden but a unique strength that will propel me forward in my academic and professional journey in the US.
What do you think, guys, with this closing remark of his essay, or the show version at least?
I think it also shows gratitude for the opportunities, which might show that the student will be very thankful for any financial aid that is being granted to him. And also like he's continuing his professional journey.
Exactly. Um, the first thing that I would say is that the show version paints a vivid picture by describing a specific details. Like, for example, do you remember the report cards and grades? Yeah. He demonstrates here that this student has academic success. It just doesn't state the fact that he's having a perfect GPA. The show version shows it like more tangible with a more tangible evidence. So this makes the sense of standing out because it gives the readers a clear image of the student's achievement and effort behind it. Also, the show version uses like a specific details like the condition of his house and the part-time job. So this illustrates a specific challenges of growing up in a low-income environment. So it shows hardship through visual and tangible elements. Okay? So this will allow the reader understand why is he going through a difficult circumstances without directly stating them. So I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive, but this approach makes a sense to stand out because it creates like a vivid and professional uh, portrayal of the student's background. So remember, the show version describes also the feelings and your emotions. So use it, use it. It doesn't have to be like with complex words like I show you, but it should show your true self. And when we were talking about ChatGPT, we're always concerned that this, you know, key can help you to know if you are writing in a positive way or if you are going to write a complex essay, whatever you might think of. Remember that the admissions committees a are looking for a student that can talk about in a unique way. They're not looking for a student that is using AI to tell that they're the best. They just want to see who you are and what your strengths are. And you are the one who knows exactly how to write that. Not a machine, not a artificial intelligence. You are the one. And they know it when you write with AI because you can ask ChatGPT if that statement was written in ChatGPT. So be careful. So I don't want to say much. I just want to know if you have any questions about it. And sorry, if you have any questions about it, or is it clear, or do you need more explanation about it? No? No? Okay, so now we have Robin with us. Robin, we're going on a break, for a 50-minute break. So we will start at 2. and we will be with you. Okay? So I will be making you the host of the session so you can show your presentation, or if you want me to help you out, I can do
I
it
can
on
show
my
it.
end.
Thank you.
Okay. So guys, it's time for the break. So I'll see you at 2, okay?
Okay. And so I have the ability to share my screen? I do. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So it was really nice. I listened to the entire morning session. So Jingyang gave a really nice presentation. And that was followed also by a really nice presentation by Ramiro. So you guys have really got a good feel on how to write your essays. Um, what I wanted to do in my portion is to take a slightly different approach. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and then I want to get to know you as much as possible. So you can tell me a little bit about your story. And why we want to do this is because choosing a university is a very big deal. Um, and it can really shape the way your career develops. And because that is the case, you've got to really think, are you picking the right university? So I want you to think about university as something you are picking. And there's a few things that we would talk about as to what are your learning styles, what are your ambitions, what's sort of the areas you want to pursue, and then we'll see how to best develop your essays based on those particular areas, right? And so I'll first start by telling you a little bit about me, and then we'll get to know you. So I was born in Guyana in South America. That's where I did my high school. And then I went to the University of Toronto where I did my formal education. Then I went to Stanford University where I continued my education. My extracurriculars, and these are very important things you should include in your essays. I played a lot of tennis and cricket, and I was captain of the debate club. And that really helped me while I was developing my presentation skills and the ability to develop arguments. And these are all things that are important as you build critical thinking essays. For me, when I applied to the University of Toronto, my essay was on how to build a speaker. And I had this period of time where I would spend a lot of time building a speaker from scratch. I would buy the magnet and I would get the wire and I'd wire it all up and I would actually build a speaker that can play sound. And that's what I wrote about in my critical thinking essay. And that actually said a lot about me, so that when I was at the university, what it really highlighted is that I needed to understand how things function from a very basic level. It was kind of engineering. And that helped me to choose the kind of school that I went to. It helped me to choose the kind of programs that I went to. It helped me to develop a lot of what I became. And that is the goal for you as you write this essay. As you write this essay, you have to think about what is it that you like to do and how the place that you're going to is going to help you to develop. All right? Do I kind of have you so far? Okay. And so there are a couple of things I wanted to do. I wanted to make this a little interactive. So I put a mind cloud. Have you guys used word clouds before? So if you go to www.menti.com and you enter this code, you're going to see a word cloud, which I'll present. And if you guys can just tell me a little bit about you. What are your academic interests? Do you like science? I knew someone in the morning put that they were writing about STEAM. So do you like science? Do you like engineering? Do you like the arts? If we can get to know a little bit about you. Astrobiology, history, chemistry. Okay, these are great replies. Anyone else? Business. Genetics, art, literature. So there's a lot of science and then history, arts and literature. Okay. Writing poetry. I saw someone wrote something this morning that was very well written. It was very poetic. Okay. All right. So let's see if we get some. There's a couple on business. So those who are interested in business, can you just raise your hands? See if we get Ramiro. All right, civil engineer, science, genetics, debating, criminology. Okay. All right, so these are all great responses. Now, the very first thing you're gonna notice out of this is that it's a collection of different areas, right? Which means that when you're applying to university, the university that you want to go to for, say, genetics or physics are probably going to be different than the universities you want to go to for arts. That are different than the universities you want to go to for like international business. So now you have to begin to think about that. This is what you want to study. What are the good universities in these particular areas, right? Okay, and then we'll get into a little bit more about in terms of in that particular type of field, what are the different approaches to education? That's all very important. Okay, so what I'll do, very interesting, oratory and debating. Who wants to do oratory and like who is interested in oratory and debating? Pilar, nice. Are you part of the debating club at your school?
Yes, I'm, well, Model UN.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's really like I said, I did that when I was in high school. It's a great skill to learn to develop. Okay. Who's into programming and robotics? Can you just show by raise your hand? Oh, Antonella, nice. And in the chat, aeronautics, robotics, programming, Dana. Very nice. So all of these different areas have different schools that are very good. So I will just take a copy of this. Okay. All right. So we'll go back to our presentation. Actually, no, one more thing. So I will present this again. So what I'll do is I'll take you to the next slide. And I want you to answer your questions. I don't know where you are in the process of writing your critical thinking essays, but if you can just fill this out. Have you kind of written something? Have you started to think about it? Are you like planning what you're gonna write, or is there like no progress on this yet? Okay, planning, have not started, okay. So that's good. So we have an idea of where you are. Most of you are just planning your essay. So that would mean that what we discussed today is gonna be a little helpful for you. Okay, so what I'll do, before I get into the third question I have. Oh, some of you have already written it. Can I see a show of hands who have written it? Can you guys just show of hands who have already written your essays? Okay, all right, well, some of you said that you have. All right. Okay, what I'll do is I'll go back to my slides. Okay, so we have an idea that you have different interests, and some of you have already started to write your essays and you're planning on it. So I wanted to get to know you a little bit before we got really into it. So is anyone here willing to share about you? Can you tell me what you want to study in university? Where you were planning on going to university, what kind of careers and stuff you're aspiring to be? Can I get any participation? Pilar.
Yeah, so I want to study political science, and I'm planning to apply to different universities in Washington, D.C.
Like Georgetown?
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like George Washington University.
yeah, GW.
Yeah, and I'm planning on making my essay about like the importance of young people participating in politics and well, the importance of preserving Latin American culture, even when you're outside of Latin America, for example, in the US.
Right. So you have a lot of diasporic thought that goes into like your essays. Cool. Thank you for sharing, Pilar. Anna?
Well, I want to study biomedical sciences or biological engineering.
Okay.
And well, I have like an idea of where do I want to go. But like the goal here is Boston University on biology with a specialization, so biology, molecular, and genetics. One bachelor's program, and I want to do my essay about the way that we all have the diseases on our genotype, but we can prevent them from being expressed by some like medical stuff in that.
Okay. Do you know any famous examples of some diseases that are encoded in your genetics that you can catch early?
Oh yeah, this multiple is, well, I know the name in Spanish, is sclerosis multiple.
Sclerosis,
And
yeah,
also like,
multiple sclerosis, yeah.
yeah, and also they have like recently been studies about diabetes of type 2 and also cancer with all like the new modification of lymphocyte stuff that's going on.
Oh, very good. There's a gene called BRCA1. Have you ever heard of it? BRCA1.
Which
So
one?
any BRCA1, BRAC1. So women who have BRCA1 genes, they have a very high chance of getting breast cancer. So if you screen, you can start monitoring very early.
Oh, I didn't know that one, but
Okay,
well,
thank you for
it's
sharing that.
really important.
Yeah, it's very important. And Boston University is a great university. It's central in Boston with Harvard and MIT. So you're in a great and sort of bubble in an environment. Okay, Natalia?
Hi, I would like to study English, more focus in creative writing because I really like literature. And I think I'm gonna apply to liberal art colleges and maybe one or two estatals. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do my essay about, but I think it's gonna be about the importance of arts in low incomes communities.
That's a very good essay topic. There's a lot of depth to that one. Okay, thanks for sharing. Sophia?
Well, I want to study marketing in the University of Miami. I have not written my essay and I really don't have any idea of what to write, but I'm thinking maybe the importance of activities or extracurricular activities in my community or in my country, because I saw that it's not regular to have kids in like immersed on activities. So maybe it would be like that. And my interests are just taking courses online about yes, about social projects or issues that my community has.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about the social projects that your community have as you write some of these essays as we go on. Okay, so this was my introductory slide about me. All right, so this is where I wanted to start. So as you guys know, you're putting together your application. You're gonna submit your transcripts. They're gonna see all the awards you've won. They're gonna see, all the accolades that you've gotten. So they have an idea of who you are as a student, right? What they do not have an idea of quite yet is what kind of style of learning are you? And are you a good fit for that university that you're applying to? And that's where you have to make that connection. And that's where your essay comes in. Because now you get to tell them a little bit about your style, what you want to do, and why you want to go there, right? So it's a big decision. I mean, for example, like Pilar sounds like she's really thought about it. If you want to be a diplomat or in that area, Georgetown and George Washington are great universities to go to. They pride themselves on producing the future diplomats. And so you got to really get to know the universities in your program, right? And then you have to match your style of what you have done, the way you like to learn, the way you like to do things, to what is being offered in that program. So you have to take some time. Okay. All right. So it comes back to these key points. What do you want from the university? And are the schools that you apply to, do they have good programs in the areas that you want? And so far, we've gotten some great answers. Like, if you want to study molecular biology, Boston University has a great program. If you want to study writing, Yale is a great college, but there are also many great liberal arts colleges. And actually, if you want to do writing, liberal arts colleges are the places to go, because their curriculums are so flexible that you can begin to like mix and match and really put together a curriculum that is best suited to all of the different types of writing styles that you want to develop, right? So, and then you have to think about, as you're doing this, you're going to be preparing yourself with an education. The point of your education is to have a career. And if you can begin to link a little bit about that in your critical thinking essay, right? Then you really begin to show the university what you're using their education for, right? So they know that you're coming here with a purpose. So they're, as Jing said in the morning, which is true, the university wants to get to know you. Are you a good fit? Are you going to enrich the campus? Those are things that are important. But the other part of it is, what is the purpose of you coming here, right? So if you say, I would like to be the Mexican ambassador to the United States, it's one of the things I wanted, right? Then you can say, by having a degree from here in which I can study all the policies and regulations between these two countries, I want to study how, what's the Mexican experience in the United States. They're like, yes, this person has an idea of how they really want to shape that education they're getting, and they can see it. So someone who's reading your essay thinks, yeah, this person is a good fit. Same thing for the genetic stuff. You say, I really want to understand. And if you had a personal story, like, I have an uncle who has diabetes, and seeing the progression of this disease has really made me realize how important research in this area is. And I can see the real world consequences. I want to understand more. And I've looked around, and Boston University has a great molecular biology program, right? So that's why you want to go there. So suddenly the university knows that you're serious. You're using their all of the information that they've put out on the website, how their curriculums are structured. You're using that as a real sense of what your purpose is going to be. Okay, is that clear? Okay, all right. So then you have to think about it, what makes that university either innovative, what makes it renowned. Some people do not necessarily want to go to a university that's completely innovative, and we'll talk about that. What makes that university established? Do you know anything about the people who graduated from there? Do they tend to go on to do different various things? Studying marketing at the University of Miami is a great idea, I think, because it's such a hub for a lot of marketing and advertising campaigns. So it's a great place to be if you want to be in that bubble. So you need to let them know that you know this, what you want to do, how you're going to use them as a sort of stepping stone. Okay. All right. So what I did here is I tried to just kind of lay out, and these are, by no means the only universities, they're just some examples. And so if you're applying to say, I spent a lot of time at Stanford. If you're applying to Stanford, Stanford really wants to see, are you entrepreneurial, right? Do you have ideas you want to blend innovation and business, right? Can you take a product and kind of make a reality out of it? Pilar kind of beat us to this one. Georgetown wants you to, they're really looking to develop future diplomats. If you want to be in public service, Yale, that's their entire, a lot of their program, they're built on motivation and service and so on. So MIT, for anyone who wants to be an engineer, robotics, it's all about can you do. If you go there, your student experience is going to be all about coding and writing and building. And then you get the really different, the opposite, like Princeton, which is all about conceptual research. And Princeton has a lot to do with conceptual research because, for example, that's where Albert Einstein spent a lot of his time after he came to the United States. So it's a lot about thinking and sort of concept and theory-based education. Harvard in general is about intellectual curiosity. What differentiates Harvard from Stanford is Harvard really puts a lot more emphasis, say, on curiosity-driven research, whereas Stanford, they kind of want to see you take the research and can you make a product out of it? But like I said, these are just examples, very famous examples. You have to think about the universities you want to go to. And there's a lot that goes into that decision. What are your grades like? What are your finances like? Are you looking for scholarships? So all of those things come into play. But within any one of those universities that you're applying to, they're going to fit a profile that looks like this. And you have to think, is that the profile that you want? And then on the left, I had examples in which they really had a mission. On the right, I have sort of different examples. So for example, Cornell University is a lot more interested in you, the student. They want to help people to develop their character. Their entire curriculum is based on helping you develop more about you, right? Columbia University, you don't really need to have a mission. Their first 2 years are very strict. They say, we have a core curriculum. For example, one of their most famous courses is a thing they call Lit Hum, which is Literature and Humanities, that everyone has to take. So they're kind of if you're unsure, you can go there. Brown is one of the more famous open curriculum universities. So you would have to look around. There's some schools that have great business programs because they're associated with great graduate business programs. For example, the University of Chicago, great business school, one of the best. So you got to think about where you want to go. So you can look around based on what your interests are. You have to read through the university guidelines and look at their programs. So how do you actually evaluate the program? If you see that university does a lot of research, then they're looking for you to be a lot more active in terms of innovative ideas. So how do you show that you have innovative thinking, right? That's kind of what this little piece of the essay has to be about. Okay. All right, good. Have I got you all so far? Any questions before I just keep on going? All right.
I have a question, sorry.
Yes.
It's related to the curriculum. What does it mean, like the open curriculum or the closed core curriculum?
So some universities, I'll give you a little bit of my personal example. So when I was at the University of Toronto, if you wanted to be a science major, you had to take, let's say you had 10 courses a year. You had to take 8 courses that were like mandated in like core sciences like physics, chemistry, math, and then a couple of courses that were like in arts. Some universities are not that strict. They say if you have to take 10 courses and you want to be in science, you only need 3 core science subjects like chemistry, physics, biology. But the other 7, you can take whatever you want, right? So you can study like astronomy, you can study religion, and you can do different things. And that's more of an open curriculum. And so for some students, if you know that you are not gonna go like down a strict path, like you're not gonna be training to be an engineer, or you not necessarily want to be like a surgeon, you're kind of evaluating what's out there. You can take more of an open curriculum kind of school. And actually these days, I think open curriculum is a great way to go because there's so much what they call now future work and upskilling. Like one of the things people don't really, they're beginning to discuss is with the use of AI, there's so many new careers and jobs that are opening. And if you've got the ability to be broad and kind of like broadly educated, you can make a new career out of something. So that's an open curriculum. Any questions? All right, so the thing about the American schools is that they're fairly competitive. That's regardless of the school. And one of the things that you've got to really bear in mind is that they're looking to see not just that you can test well, they're looking to see how well you will perform in the university setting, right? They know how well you can test. They've seen your grades, right? So the kind of mantra that people use now is do it and then write about it. And because when you do something, you actually expose the true nature of doing it. What are the limitations? What was all the things that you learned from it? How you can make it better? So you really gotta like put yourself out there. That if you wanna, and I'll give some examples. But if you wanna do marketing, let's say, did you ever try to like create like a social media marketing platform? You know, something simple that's accessible to you. What did you learn from it? What were the limitations, right? So when you're writing it, they know that one, you're interested, you know why you're coming there, but you've tried about it. You're actually very curious about it. And so they can, when you're writing the essay becomes really filled with content because you've actually tried to do it. You're not just like, you know, making up stuff or it's very like overly descriptive. It's really impactful, really content-based. So that's why you need to do something and then write about it. So if you have not tried to do something and you're applying, my biggest recommendation is to try and do something about it, about what you want to do, and then write about it. Okay. Because that's the main demonstration of your knowledge. And I'll give some examples. Okay. Any questions so far? No? Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is I'll go back to the workload and what we'll do is we'll think a little bit about if you had to come up with a project, like a critical thinking project that you would write about, what would that topic be? So the term that they use is called a capstone project, something that you've done, and it actually allows you to like take an idea and develop it quite well. So if you had to pursue or you have already pursued a capstone project, what kind of areas have you been studying? Okay. Sustainability. Okay. There's usually a little bit of a delay, so I'll just give it a moment so we can see the responses. Because this is kind of like where I really wanted to spend some time in terms of, because like I said, the key area of writing the critical thinking essay is about taking a project you've done and then and writing about it. So if we can discuss some of this, that'd be great. Resource sustainability. So for sustainability, so for people who have done sustainability, would you mind giving me a little example of what kind of project you've done, or tell me a little bit about it? Would you like to share?
But I don't know how to say like the word in English, so I will try
problem.
my best.
Okay.
The poverty situation in Oaxaca is, well, in Mexico, it's really closer than we think, because sometimes we try to go to places that are really far, and we think that there is poverty, like extreme poverty, but like nearer here in Oaxaca, is closer. So they don't have access to basic needs. An example is to the bath to make their necessities. So I volunteer in an organization that it calls Techo, and it has a project named Baños Secos.
Okay.
So we construct that baños, that installations to them, so they can access to that necessity, and it really functions. It's made like of wood, and then they do in like something, and they have to remove it and put ceniza. How do I say ceniza? Sorry.
Ashes.
Ashes. And that's like an example of a sustainability project.
That's a very noble cause. So like if you had to write about that in terms of your critical thinking essay, right? There would be several aspects that you would want to develop when you're writing something like that. One, you would state it what you've actually done, right? But then you would have to kind of develop that thinking. Like, what does having access to them? Like, one aspect is just like, human well-being, human sort of dignity, that they can have these areas, right? But the next thing that you can add on top of that is having these sort of mechanism reduces disease, right? Makes the area a lot more safe for everyone as a whole. So you can take that experience that you've got and you begin to think of all of the implications, right, that it has. And then what you really get to do is, because you've got this experience, you can talk about how you can make it better. If you had to do it all over again, or based on your experience, what would be the next thing to improve it, right? So now if I'm reading your essay, I see, yeah, this is a great cause. Marianne really understands what she's doing, what are many of the implications, but she's thinking about how to make this better. And I think about, if you come to my university, then that would be, I would teach you concepts, but you'll take those concepts and advance it. And that's what you're really trying to put over to someone reading your application. Does anyone else want to share their example? Maybe in international relations? Any other example? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your story. Okay. So I had a couple from examples. My examples are gonna be biased to cases that I knew from Stanford and from the University of Toronto, but they're just examples. There are many examples. And so what I want you to do is think about how you would, like how Marianne shared hers, how you would use yours, right? So one big area is climate change and sustainability. Have anyone ever worked in this area? You can take something as very simple as, like, say, a tree planting campaign. So if you were part of a community service project that helped to, like, plant different trees, you can talk about it. You can say we wanted to plant different trees as part of our local effort to deal with climate change. And that allows you to really begin to think about it. What do you have in a tree planting campaign? One is a CO2 capture, right? You're beginning to reduce greenhouse gases because the plants are going to capture it. You're revitalizing your environment, which helps for, like, the ecosystem. So you can take that one example, but you begin to layer academic concepts on top of it, right? So in addition to, like, what you guys talked about this morning with Jing, which is your personal area, the other aspect of your essay is, what are you going to be like as an academic? What are you going to be like as a person who's doing scholarly activities? And this allows you to demonstrate a little bit about that. Right? And sustainability you can take on. So there'll be ways in which, in addition to tree planting, do you have ideas on how to do waste removal or how to recycle garbage as part of building compost in order to go with your tree planting schemes, right? You can take it, layer it, talk about how you're going to develop it. And that's just, that's one example. Another example is health and mental health as a whole. We were talking a little bit about diabetes earlier. In Mexico, you guys were one of many countries, but you guys were particularly affected by diabetes. So during the pandemic, there was a huge spike in the cases of diabetes in Mexico, greater than any other country. Some other Latin American countries were affected with a lot of mental health issues, but in particular in Mexico, you guys got hit by diabetes quite a bit. You guys had a spike of like 41%. So if you're doing like a community awareness project and you just went through COVID, these are some of the ideas you can think about. Like, my community was really hit and I want to have like a community awareness plan for people who are suffering from diabetes. And you can talk about the health implications. So particularly if you wanted to go into like medical fields or something like that, people can begin to see that you have that sort of thinking. You come to the university to develop that. You have a social purpose in the society. Okay. The other thing that you guys probably know very well about is that because of all of the online education that happened during COVID, a lot of students were suffering from burnout, and you guys were probably, because you're just in front of the Zoom all day and your classes just like back to back. And so you can have activities that kind of really help to your peers that you know, from like pulling back from that sort of like burnout, that sort of realm. And then you can talk about it. If, like, let's say you wanted to go to university to study psychology, what were some of the mechanisms that you think as a future psychologist that you can begin to see that was useful, right? So as you begin to think about what you're going to study in university, you think about some of the things that you immediately see and how you can begin to bring about change or how your education is going to help you. Any questions on this? Okay.
I have a
And
question,
yeah, for
but
sure.
it's not about it. I think that I should have made that question at the beginning, but it's okay.
That's okay. You can
Would you
ask any
say,
question anytime.
okay, what would you say, thank you. What would you say about your pen in chemical and biomolecular engineering and psychology?
UPenn is a very good school, as you know. It's kind of like the unnamed Ivy League. And it's first of all, it's a very big university. And it has a very evolved program. It's a little bit more core. So for studying something like chemical engineering, it's a great place to go. If you really wanted to just pursue chemical engineering, Purdue University in Indiana. That's like a very good chemical engineering university. So is the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, UIUC. Extremely established chemistry department. And Cornell University in upstate New York, great chemistry department.
Okay.
In terms of psychology, I'm biased. So psychology is actually a field that's really becoming revolutionized these days. Very impressive. The thing that people don't really realize is things like Facebook and Instagram have allowed companies like Facebook to get so much user data. They can see how people interact with stuff. So now psychology itself has become a very analytical science because you can tell people's behaviors and attitudes. And there's also like a lot of neuroscience that's being brought over to psychology. So if you were interested in like the Pennsylvania area, Penn State is a little better for psychiatry than University of Pennsylvania because Penn State is associated with a hospital network. So there's a lot of like psychologists who work with patients and who do bioanalytics and they're part of the university. But you know, if you had a different state, they're different universities. I know Stanford, the psychology department is just booming, but that's because here, because most of these like startups that come out, like you know, Facebook, Google, all of these companies that come out of the Bay Area, there's a lot of psychology on user behavior. Pilar, you had a question?
Yes, it's about the capstone projects or the passion projects.
Yeah.
That I have a passion project that is like guided towards what I want to study, but it's a very difficult project, so I'm not. I have like I have the idea of what I want to do, but it's very difficult to like actually do it and actually have the people to do it. So does it count as like lying if I write about the project that I want to do, but I'm not able to do because it's like very expensive and all that?
I think if you did it in a way that really shows your thinking, if you mapped out, here's my idea, this is how it can be developed, and you show that you've thought about it a lot, that you really understand the implications of why it's difficult to implement, right? They would see that you're thinking about it, that you understand the practical limitations. And that's a good place to start. Any other questions? No. Okay. So other capstone projects, you can work on business models. One of the things that we have now because of all of these social media platforms are very different models of business. You know, like they've gone from like a bricks and mortar sort of like, here's a company, here's the office, here's the store, to things are completely virtual. Like Amazon has changed the space, the way advertising is done, the way sales are done, very innovative models, right? The way you know, look at videos, everything has changed. And so you can have your own idea of how to create a new business model. And you have to think about it. And that's why, like, for me, I think two exciting areas to study these days are psychology, because like I said, there's so much data on just human behavior and business models, because there's so many evolving ways in which business is being done. Like for example, like Netflix. Netflix is an example of where they took people used to rent videos and then they began streaming. But as they began streaming, Netflix can actually see how people watch TV shows, right? So they can see that, oh, normally when you watch a TV show, you don't like to look at one, you look at the other one, and then the other one, and then the other one. So they really realized that one user data was binge watching, and that people would just get hooked on a show and they would just binge watch all of it. But they were the ones who had that analytics. So that's why when Netflix always releases a show, they release all of it at once, because they know that their user base is all about binge watching, right? So that's a business model, and that comes in to how they create their content and then distribute it as part of their business. So like there's all of these examples coming out. So if you go to like, as I was mentioning, the University of Chicago, or you go to University of Miami, they would have these more innovative areas of business and marketing education. And you would be part of seeing all of that data and how you're gonna like use that in your future career. So you have to look at like, look through the curriculum. What are you gonna study year one? What are you gonna study year two? And you can see the sort of innovative types of research, and then you can see how you can write your essay to say, I want to learn these things. And this is what I've done. All right, so this comes to the main point I really want to bring home, which is you have to write about an experience you've got, or in Pilar's case, like a very evolved thinking about something that's complex, and demonstrate how it fits to that university that you want, right? So you want to do it, write about it, and then connect it to the department, connect it to the university, connect it to your career. And so anyone reading this will be like, yeah, this is a kid we want here. They're gonna take advantages, all the advantages of our curriculum, our professors, our intellectual thought, and they're gonna go off and become great ambassadors of the university, because they're taking on a philosophy of education that university is trying to push. Okay. Right. So, you know, machine learning is big these days, AI. So one of the things I wanted to show you guys is they're beginning to take all of the data from all of university students and how kids perform in first year after they get into university. And they're looking at like their chances of admission, they're looking at their how they progress in the first year. And one of the things that they've noticed is that on average, kids who do capstone projects or begin to think critically about their projects before they go into universities, one, they have a higher chance of admission. But what's even more important is that when they get into university, they actually perform a lot better. And it's because you really began to think about how you're going to stitch together your university experience. You know, you're not just going to be there, oh, I need to just finish calculus, I just need to finish physics, I just need to finish this biology course. You're beginning to think, oh, this all comes together so I can do like genetic engineering. And so because you're so focused on a goal, because you've had this experience of like doing a capstone project, you can begin to see the value of a lot of the early years of university, which is where a lot of kids tend to do poorly. So if you look at university grades, you usually start off and then everyone gets a little higher, but that's because in your third and your fourth year, what's happening is that you can see the purpose of your education. The courses are a lot more evolved, right? But if you had that appreciation from the beginning, then you would really perform a lot better. I don't know how we are on time. So this comes also, Pilar, to your point, I actually did have a slide on it. You know, can your project be conceptual? Of course it can be. You just have to write it and integrate it and talk about how you would develop out that idea. One of the nice things about doing a conceptual project is really show that it could be interdisciplinary or multiple disciplinary. Because that really has like this evolved understanding of what you can build something with. All right, I'm just gonna kind of slip through because I'll take some questions in the end. When we talk about capstone projects, one of the things we're looking at is your ability to do what's called the design thinking process. Can you take an idea or something that you're involved with? Can you understand that idea? Can you define what the problem is you're trying to solve? Can you think about ways of making that solution better or implementing it? Can you test it? Like in Marianne's case, they're actually testing it. They've got like a wooden stall that they're building, but could she make it better? Probably making it with plastic, so it'll be lighter, transportable, easier to clean. Can you test it, develop it, implement it, make it better? And that's kind of the things you want to bring out a little bit in your essay. And the last thing I wanted to kind of really show you guys is that one of the main things about university education in the United States is particularly how interdisciplinary it is. Many universities around the world, they have these core curriculums, but all of the big leaders in education, the USA, China, India now, and various European countries, Germany, most of the programs are all interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. And so if you really want to start preparing yourself to fit in that environment, you have to start thinking about multidisciplinary education. Okay. And so I just had a couple of slides just before we end. We're at Future Innovative Minds, and what we do is we work with kids on capstone projects. So we've worked on developing projects that are sustainability based. We worked on projects that are like mental health based. We worked on like projects that are community based, so like how to find areas for like new work or retooling or upskilling. And we work with different ages. So how kids can like take new materials or develop farming, things from conceptual, or you can get a little bit of how you want to transition a project. The main idea of this is, like I said, it's so that you have an idea of what you yourself are. So like we've worked with kids that be in a group and you can tell they're not going to be the ones who really wants to do the conceptual research. You find kids who really want to be the ones who are doing it. So they now know something about themselves. They know that a more practical university experience is where they want to go. And so that would help them to choose universities and choose their paths. And so again, I'll end on this slide because it's the one thing I really, really want to drive home before I have a few wrap-up comments. Think about it, then write about it and see where you can connect it. And that's going to really improve the chances of you getting in, because whoever's reading your essay will be like, this is a GW student, or this is a University of Miami student in the making. And so some summaries about critical thinking essays. You have this evolved understanding because it really highlights your area of curiosity. It really helps you to take an idea and see how rational and feasible, its benefits, its limitations, how practical it is. And it really shows how you want to grow from the opportunities that the university will have for you. How you're going to engage in that environment and how that university's curriculum will help you. And so I think for me, like my parents were very supportive. I think if you guys are here, it also means your parents are very supportive of your education. And that's great. And your parents are giving you this opportunity to go and, find your place in the world. So you just have to be true to yourself and figure out where you want to be and how best you can fit. And I think that would really give you the best chance of success. So with that, I can stop sharing and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, guys, it's time for questions. You can raise your hand and Robin will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. So it's now and ever, guys. Go ahead, Maria. Natalia.
Thank you. I have two questions. First, Would you recommend a certain state for studying English? Like what you say about marketing or I think was psychology?
Mhm.
Like, is there any state in the US that will be like better for studying English?
No, I think all states in in the United States will be good. What you have to do is look at the actual university and their department. And so you'd have to look, some universities, their English departments are very well done. If you look at their department or their program, you'll notice that they have on staff a lot of people who've written very famous books. They have like a literary program that's very well developed. And that would be a good place for you to go, because if you go there, it'll be a lot more than just how well the education is, how well the English is. It will be like trying to find a new narrative on the voice, which is if you're trying to study English or writing, that is really what you want from the university. For example, like a great university to study English would be like NYU, New York University. Extremely great literary program. You have people there like Malcolm Gladwell, who's written some exceptional books. And also New York as a whole, they have a lot of literary and critics coming and presenting, so it'll be a good environment.
Thank you so much. And I have a second question. In most of the liberal art college I've been checking, I am required for a portfolio because I want writing. So would you recommend me to do a critical thinking essay as the main essay or as part of my portfolio?
As part of your portfolio.
Okay, thank you so much.
There is a question on the chat from Marianne. She's asking the critical thinking essay is apart from the personal statement.
It depends on the university. I know the top 10, they all require separate critical thinking essays. So, you know, like the Stanfords, the Dukes, UPenn, I'm sure, Dartmouth, MIT for sure, they all require critical thinking essays. But I would really recommend that even if the university you're applying to does not require it, but you put it in as part of your statement, it will boost you because they'll see the kind of student you are or that you will be. Anyone
Any
else?
other question, guys? Go ahead, Sophia.
As I said earlier, I've been doing like social projects with some friends, and my question is, can I wrote my critical essay about the surveys I did before my social projects, or it has to be another thing?
No, you can group projects. I think group projects are the best critical thinking projects. Because it allows you for multiple things. Within a group project, everyone gets a sort of different duties to do, right? But when you write about it, you write about it as a collective. So what they see is that you understand that any real project is a collection of several areas, and you understand that. And then you can talk about your particular area, but it also shows that you really understand the whole. And so I think group projects are great for critical thinking projects.
And it doesn't matter if the project lasted like few months or maybe I don't know, 1 month or even 6 months. I don't know. It's just lasted a few months.
A few months is good. It's better than weeks. It shows that you've had a little bit more commitment to it. I mean, obviously, the longer something goes on, the more it evolves, the more depth it has, the more you can write about it. But months is better than weeks. So that's what I'd say.
And should I have to have proofs? Because one social project I did last year, it's closed because my friends and I decided to close it. So I don't have like any proofs unless el prototipo. I don't
Your
know.
prototype, yeah.
Yes.
So I think part of it is in the actual writing about it, even if it's closed and you learned a lot and you write about it, the whoever is reviewing it will see that it sounds like something that was actually done. Like if you've never done it, there's certain things you could never just imagine because you had no experience with it. But if you've actually done it, that will come out in how you write about it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other question, guys? Go ahead, Marian.
Right.
Can we use data collected like from the government to write our critical essay?
You can. That actually shows research. That'd be very good to use.
Okay, and could you repeat the universities you say for chemical engineering, please?
Oh yeah, Purdue, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, UIUC, Cornell in upstate New York.
Okay, how do I write the first one? Purdue.
Oh, PUR. I can put it in the chat. PURDUE.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, they're well represented, I can see. Oh, okay. Everyone's well represented. All right.
Is it okay if I put like arguments, but also like spelling in my critical essay?
I mean, fill in.
What fools me to do it?
Yeah, you can. But you like it's a little different than the personal statement, right? So like you want to show a little bit more on the academic side, on the content,
Okay, in the critical.
the critical thing. All right, I think we're at times. What I would say is I know there's another session tomorrow. So my colleague Gisela is gonna be in the breakout rooms tomorrow. And you guys can learn a lot more about future innovative minds and the work we do in terms of capstone projects and how we help with these sort of development of capstone projects and critical thinking essays. So if you're interested, you can just show up tomorrow.
Thank you, Robin. And is there any, or are there any resources on your website that students can start reading about critical thinking?
We don't have any on our websites right now, but tomorrow after the session, we can start looking to post them on the website. That's a good idea.
Thank you so much. And well, I'm confident that all of us were like fully engaged and paying close attention to the valuable insights you were sharing. And I encourage you guys to reach out to them. If you have any further questions, they are the ones that can help you out. And well, thank you for being here in our summer camp. It has been an absolute delight. We'll be sending you the recording, Robin, and of course to all of you guys. And happy 4th of July!
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here, and Gisela, thank you so much for being here. If you see the comments, they're all excited. Thank you so
that's great.
much.
That's really great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ramiro. Thank you to everyone for participating in this session. And we will wait for you tomorrow to talk about in deep about FEM and what are the purpose that we are doing in education.
And invite your parents, please.
Yes. Thank you, Ramiro. That's a great opportunity to bring also your parents to understand from your side and from the parent side what we are developing at FEM.
And Gisela speaks Spanish. She can help you out with any question in Spanish or English. So, Robin as well.
Sí, de hecho, la sesión de mañana va en español para ayudar a los papás también. Así que genial. Nos vemos en español mañana.
¿Ven? Entonces, preparen sus preguntas. So, it was nice having you. Enjoy the rest of your day. We're heading to the last part of our summer boot camp. So, Thank you so much, Robin and Gisela again. It was a pleasure having you.
Pleasure. See you.
See you.
Bye, take care.
Bye. So I'm gonna stop recording now.